The 8,000-year-old Stone Age settlement of Lepenski Vir on the banks of the river Danube in Serbia is famous for its fish-like head sculptures. But after a visit to the site, we investigated the sculptures a little deeper, and to be honest, we were shocked by what we found. Either we've been deceived, and we've been deceiving ourselves about the heads at Lepenski Vir, and we're going to tell you why we think that. Hi there, welcome to the show. I'm Michael Bott and I'm shocked.
And I'm Rupert Suskin and I'm also shocked.
Yes. I think you're shocked, and I think you're a little bit angry as well. A little bit angrier than what I am in this.
Just for a change.
I'll take the chuckle as a yes.
I have been, because it's like... I don't think people have been deliberately dishonest, but it is like when you find out that something is not how you thought, it does feel like you've been lied to for a very long time. Yes, that's basically where I'm at.
What on earth are we talking about? Well, as you know, we're talking about Lepenski Vir, and we're talking about the famous fish heads at Lepenski Vir. Now, I've been wondering about how to deal with this show, whether to do a deep dive, about what people believe, what they don't believe to begin with, or just go straight in with the numbers, or the shocking numbers. But I think it's important to establish before we do the numbers, the shocking bit, of what we've found, is just to establish talk around what people have previously believed about the numbers and the significance of these incredible carvings at Lepenski Vir. And just NB to start with, caveat to begin with, we are no way are we trying to undermine the significance or how wonderful the carvings at Lepenski Vir are.
Nor are we trying to undermine the archaeology that has been achieved.
Not at all.
It's the recording, really.
Yeah, and the way that it's filtered down has left us with a completely, we think, a large misconception about what went on as far as these sculptures are concerned. So, to which end I asked Google. I asked, how many human head sculptures are there at Lepenski Vir? It came back with this answer. Excavations at the mesolithic neolithic site of Lepenski Vir in Serbia have uncovered approximately 100 stone sculptures in total. Among these, the count for those specifically depicting human or fish-like faces varies according by source. Total sculptures, most sources cite around 100 sculptured sandstone boulders at the site. Figural sculptures, approximately 52 of these are identified as figural, depicting humanoid or fish-like faces, while the others feature abstract geometric designs. Fish people, these humanoid figures, are famously described as a hybrid of human and fish features characterized by wide, round eyes and down-turned mouths. So even if you go to the sources for this, which the AI quotes, you wouldn't have a leg to stand on to start arguing with what's just been stated. Quite clearly that over half of the known boulders there depict human fish-like faces. And that's pervasive throughout. Wherever you search, whether it be individual articles, or newspaper articles, media articles, and even archaeological papers themselves, and believe us, we have tried.
Yes.
While they don't specifically say that, they don't undermine that in any way whatsoever, as far as we can tell.
All the papers you can find basically let you carry on believing that.
Yeah. And the thing was, we were of the same mind. That's the thing. That was our anticipation of Lepenski Vir. And again, another caveat. Don't let whether there's 52 or whether there's however many fish heads there are at Lepenski Vir, they do suck the oxygen out of the room from the other most important aspects of Lepenski Vir, i.e. it being, the first instance of mesolithic and neolithic crossover, first farmers coming across, all sorts of other aspects of Lepenski Vir which are unique to it, trapezoid houses, the way people are buried, all those kinds of things which are just tend to go a bit by the wayside. The heads do suck all the oxygen out of the room. Say a few words. I mean, what did you think before going? What was your impression before we went?
Well, probably the same as everybody else. I had an image in my head of what the site looked like overall, and I had seen a half a dozen or so of these sculpted heads, and I was really looking forward to seeing the rest. I imagined that there was going to be this big display with all these different heads, and basically the ones you've seen online are what there are. So that was my thinking before we went. Well, what did you think before we went? What was your
they're very, very similar. We thought we'd be able to expand upon the panoply of the heads they were, compare one to another, and get themes going on. But what I don't want to do is have you folks wait till the end for some kind of denouement or solution to this.
Yeah, let's do some numbers.
Spill the beans straight off the bat. Yes, Google is right that there are approximately 100 boulders. Okay, that's what all these are. They are carved river boulders, one way or another. The total number, and we're talking about, this isn't plucking stuff out of our bottoms. This is straight from Dragoslav Srejovich's own catalogue of the fish head, of the boulders. It's there. You can count the numbers and the names that he gave them for yourselves in there. The total is 93. Of that number, 82 of them are either abstract figures or with no carving on them whatsoever. 37 of them are just mortars. Maybe decorated, maybe not, but they're mortars, everyday items that are in use for grinding, what have you. But that 82 out of the 93 leaves us only 11 carved head sculptures, 5 of which are in only one of the houses. And the remaining 6 are not that brilliant, and you don't see their images that often on the web or on the internet. It just boils down to these iconic figures that I've used in the thumbnail for this show, and you can probably see them now. That's it, folks. That's all there are. There are no repeats of these. Each and every one of these examples is the only one of its type. What I'm saying is they're all 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, are hugely distinct from one another. The themes don't extend to other sculptures. That's it. That's all we've got to work on. And we found that out, that's what shocked us.
It really did. And I think what Mike said at the beginning, that I was angrier about it than he was. Yeah. Because when you read academic papers, Decemboric particularly, that there is nothing in the paper by people who are regarded as being the absolute experts on the subject, and there is nothing in the papers to redress that misconception. And I still don't understand that. Mike and I have spent weeks, and I do mean weeks, going over and over and over these things, convinced that it must be us. Surely we're missing something. So then getting the actual original catalogue and going through the catalogue and going, no, you're not. No, it's just this thing. It's a bit like, in fact, in many ways, it's similar to Göbekli Tepe being, the first of, ground zero for any kind of culture. It all started here, and then progressively you're finding more and more things that are older, and nobody's saying that. So it just leaving you with that original misconception. I find it staggering, frankly, that that we've just got 11 pieces overall that we are given to believe that this is a sample of 100 similar things. Not right.
Of all the 93, those highlighted in pink or red, whatever, that are the only ones that are fish-like. And I think, do you know what, Rupert? What hugely skews people's impressions is I can't think of many other archaeological artifacts that have multiple reproductions. Multiple official reproductions, that is. You know what I mean? There's the version that's in the museum in Belgrade. There's the version that is in the cases in the museum at Lepenski Vir itself. And there's the version that populates the actual display in the big hall, the reproduction, awesome reproduction of the entire excavation of Lepenski Vir, complete with accurately placed and accurately modelled. I can't think they're the originals.
No.
Boulders, mortars, abstracts, and head sculptures. And I think it was our first sight of the head sculptures actually in place in the excavation reproduction under the canopy. There is our first sight of that. I think that was the first time our brain started to go, "Ooh, hang on a minute."
Yes, hold on.
Hold on a minute.
And also, I think one of the, grouchy hat, one of the most annoying things is that when you read the texts, they deliberately give you the impression that each house, that's what you get, is that each house had a head in it, had a carved head in it. And as Mike said a minute ago, that actually more than half of them are in one house. The majority of the houses don't have any at all. It's just, none of it is what you have been led to believe. What we have all been led to believe.
Those five, plus Little Adam from house number 28 down the bottom, those five plus Little Adam are the ones you see over and over and over again. No, there aren't multiples of them. They're the only one. Those images are the only ones. To go back to my point, though, is that they officially reproduced. Where are the originals? I presume they're in the Belgrade Museum. And we're told those ones on display in the Belgrade Museum are the originals. But I find that hard to believe because they're within reach. You could reach out and touch them. Or they look eminently nickable because they're in an open
and there
display.
Are only three. There are only
no,
three.
there are more than three.
Was it more than three in the Belgrade Museum?
Yes. Or
was it 5? It's not very many.
The image that you're seeing now, folks, will dispel everything. Yeah, but
it's because I zoomed in on that group of 3. That's why. But I think also, as you alluded to at the very beginning, this does not take away at all from the importance of Lepenski Vir as a site, because it is the first site that we know about where Anatolian people coming coming west. So the first farmers meeting and actually procreating, if you like, settling down and actually joining with the hunter-gatherers, the indigenous people in the gorges. So it is important from that point of view in the history of culture moving west. But,
and can I just say, if you're interested in
Yes.
those other aspects of Lepenski Vir, we did a whole thing called, Notes from Lepenski Vir. I'll put a link up in the side there and probably down below, linking to that fuller overview of the whole of Lepenski Vir. We did touch upon the fish heads problem in that program, but only briefly. That was more about the other important aspects of Lepenski Vir.
Yeah. And it is
but to go back to your point, you just said that everybody's given the impression that each hearth had a sculpture. The channel called Archaeosoup, the guy who runs it, Mark Buckman Astles. I got a quote from him in one of his YouTube things. Admittedly, it's a way back, and I don't think he's been to Lepenski Vir. But I'm not criticising him because we would have probably said the same thing had we not been there and done the work. He's relying on other, academic journals and media things at the same time. But he said in his YouTube about Lepenski Vir, at the head of each hearth was a sculpture, a fish-like being, quite possibly representing a god from the river, or maybe even perceived ancestors who were half human, half fish. At the head of each hearth was a sculpture. Boom. And
that is what you get, though, isn't it?
That's the impression you get. And of course, when you walk into the room, if you're expecting that at Lepenski Vir, you think, where are all the heads, actually?
Yeah.
Yes, there are lumps of boulder. Most houses, not every house, has some boulder-like feature, either inscribed or not inscribed, or maybe it's just a mortar. But like I said.
Yeah. I must admit, when we first walked in, and look at all those, and because I was still expecting there to be heads in each house, and my first thought was, cool, aren't some of them small?
Yes.
Only to find out that, they're just not heads anyway. Yeah, there you go.
So, it's all very well us ranting about this, but what are the implications of this? What do we draw from this? And what, it's all very well us saying, being naysayers about it, but what can we positively say? What's a different interpretation from, that aspect of what is there as far as the heads
It's a very good question, isn't it? And for me, I think the most significant thing, or one of the most significant things, is that it just shows that if you've got a site that in itself is unique, so imagine that they hadn't got the numbers wrong, imagine that there were 100 of them here. The point is that they are not found anywhere else. So Lepenski Vir is still unique from that point of view, but whether there are half a dozen or whether there are 100, you're still left with the simple fact that you can't call this cultural, because there are so many surrounding sites in this part of the Danube. I can't remember how many, but quite a few. That these heads were found nowhere else at all, and so if it's something that's so idiosyncratic, then you can't really call it cultural. It's just something that has been. And we joked to begin with. We laughed about the possibility of these being almost caricatures of people in the village, and people liked to have, so and so the sculptor was knocking them up because he was very good at taking the mick out of Uncle whoever. And then it became apparent fairly quickly that these are clearly not the hands of one sculptor, because some of them are very, very basic, with not very well defined features at all, and then others are really quite intricate, the ones that you've seen. So it's the fact that the heads themselves are a red herring, if you'll forgive the fishy analogy, and what's important is everything else that was going on in the settlement, I think.
There's such a thing as a red sturgeon.
Yeah.
Sorry, sidebar. Carry on.
That's all right. But it's true, though, isn't it? You said the heads suck the oxygen out of the room, and they absolutely do. But it's such a distraction from the cultural importance. The actual
stuff, genuinely cultural stuff.
Yeah.
I find it interesting, when seeing them all together, especially clustered together in room 5, those ones, they are so characterful that was the first thing. These are impressions. These are caricatures of people that are known. And that's the other thing that separates these apart from having deep cultural significance, is the fact that each one is so individual. There's no recurring theme through them, apart from the downturned mouth. I'll give them that. Maybe the sturgeon thing there is at heart. But there's so few of them. It's not, the whole site is not imbued with this iconography, if I can call it that. The overwhelming thing is the individualism of each of these sculptures. So much so that you think, oh, these were living people. These are people the sculptor knew, and maybe was commissioned to make something to represent that soul, or that soul, or that soul.
Yeah.
That's the thing that strikes me, especially they're clustering in this room. One room is not just any old room, but it's a room at the top of the village.
Yeah.
It's one of the highest houses in the village, and that aspect of it is striking, because you can see these heads. I mean, obviously, originally they would have been within a house, so not visible, but walking around the huge perimeter of the reproduced excavation, even though they're tiny, these heads dominate the room. Because as soon as you turn around, you can see them clustered at the top of the settlement there, from almost all angles, as it is now.
Do when you think about it, it's even more surprising that when you look at just any excavation and interpretation of excavation, you would have thought that the archaeologists on site would have been impressed by the fact that House 57 had so many in it, that clearly this was an important house in comparison with all the rest, not actually putting out a kind of more generic or generalized thing about all the houses having heads. This is the important house, but no, it seems quite strange that wasn't the way it was done.
And here's another thing that detracts from the overall cultural thing, and that's the chronology involved, the time scale involved. 11 heads to account for 200 years, and that's what we're talking about. This, because not like, with pottery, is used to describe cultures. Often cultures in archaeology, the name is given from the type of pottery that they're exhibiting. But the pottery, you can stratify pottery, and to see evolutions and through styles, one thing changing into another. It was the only way that things could be dated once upon a time. But here at Lepenski Vir, it looks like a complete flash in the pan. Done once, done with, because there's no evolution, no stylistic progression or anything like that. It's
well, you could say 2 stages,
done.
couldn't you? Because there's a few of them that are just, there's just a face, eyes, nose,
they're
mouth.
Substandard by
Yes.
by the standards of House 57.
Yes, but yes, essentially, there's only 2 styles: intricate ones or non-intricate ones. That's basically what you've got. Yeah.
Just as a side issue, I hadn't realised this before, but apparently Lepenski Vir was not the only place to have carved boulders. No fish heads, no sculpted heads anywhere else, but there were carved boulders elsewhere. Padna, which is a few kilometres upriver on the Serbia side, and a couple of others I'm not going to begin to pronounce, but I'll probably put the names of them just down below.
I think it's important actually to look at. You go back to the original excavation and what was in Srevic's head when he named all these.
He did
all these heads, and some of the names.
A lot of them have got weird names in the catalogue.
Yeah,
why some and why not others?
And it has to be said that, in fact, somebody, one of our patrons said, "Don't forget this was the '60s," and that's
implication.
Yeah, what were they smoking? Because some of the names, and they, I don't know what Srevic was thinking, and to be fair, they might have been having a lot of fun with the names. Because if all you need to do is differentiate something, then you could be serious or you could be funny. It still differentiates them. It's still, names like Adam. Adam is one of the most basic of all of the heads. It is really, it's almost like a plasticine head kind of thing. It doesn't, there's no defined detail. But then you've got mermaid, shaman, lady of Lepenski Vir, progenitor, first mother, Danubius.
Yes.
Those sorts of names. Water fairy was one that I liked. So I thought, and we looked at it and we thought, really? I don't know what he was thinking.
Water fairy is one of the more famous ones as well.
Yeah,
It's extraordinary. But then, the naming goes on, and next down the list we got Black Obelisk. Carrying on. But a large number are just called sculpture, which we presume means that they've been decorated in some way. But what inspired something to have a name rather than just being called sculpture? And that's the thing. Yeah. And it's not. There's no consistency. It's whimsical. That's the word.
Yeah.
His naming and cataloguing is whimsical. And
it does seem quite random.
But this is
in fact, you pointed out when we were talking about this. But when we were talking about this before, you came up with the distinction of you've got iconic and aniconic, and if you allow for lost in translation, because we're not talking about anything religious here. It might be, but we don't know. But iconics are representative of something, and aniconic non-representative. Well, why then have you got aniconic and sculpture? They're both not representative. So why? It's just weird.
Differentiate.
Why you would choose. Yeah, it's quite strange.
And just talk about red deer in a forest for a moment, Rupert.
Well, red deer in the forest. It's the biggest piece of all.
55 kilograms.
Do you know what? If I'm going to be brutally honest, I can see why you can look at that and think that's a red deer in a forest. I can see how that might come out as an abstraction.
You took a good photograph, didn't you, in the display?
I did take a good photograph of that. Yeah, we'll put that on. But there's another piece that's actually I think it's a mortar. In fact, it must be. It's number 54 in the catalogue. But it's just called red deer.
Let me have a look. Yes.
Yes, please do. And it's called red deer. And I thought, why?
It is. You're right. Well done.
Yeah, why is that?
It was in room house 33 behind the hearth.
Okay. Have
you got a picture of red deer?
No, I don't. I only got that from the catalogue. We'll see if we can find that. But
we're being sidelined by the detail here. So,
yeah, well, I think it's important to know. I think that if you've had the impression, as we did, if you had the impression that there's 100 heads, that when you start looking at the names that Srevich gave them all, you can see just from that, that if they really had been heads, then there would have been an awful lot of actual names going through the catalogue. Yes.
Yeah. So, but even so, there are only 17 named boulders, apart from the heads, that is. So the total number of named boulders, including their heads, is 28.
Mm-hmm.
That's just another number. Just to reiterate as well, I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning, mortars, plain mortars, or maybe slightly decorated, but nevertheless work items, mortars, 37 of this total.
Yeah.
A third of them are just plain old work things. Well, not plain, maybe, but you know what I mean.
Do know what you mean.
Yeah. So I just wonder, how much that is. You made the point as well, Rupert. How much that nomenclature, vague, weird, whimsical, has fed into people's vagaries about the numbers. Why people haven't bothered looking at the real numbers of these things. The other thing to bear in mind, I think I tried to say earlier about the repetition of these things, that we have a number of reproductions of them in one museum, this museum, and another museum, which is unusual, that split. But also, because of that, you're going to see different styles, differently lit photographs of each and every one of them, also giving you the impression that there are many. Because believe me, we've been fooled by photographs of the very same boulder, saying, well, that's that one and that's that one. No, it's the same one. It just with a different lighting and taken from a different angle. They can look completely different. Hopefully, I'll put an example on the screen so you can see. But that also doesn't help. So, folks, we don't know really what to make of it, except that our eyes have been opened. I don't know what your takeaway from this is. I think my main takeaway is that I would like to have met the guy responsible, because I think I think there was one artisan who had a good idea one day and had this skill to do it, and was commissioned to reproduce images of the chieftain or and his wife, or the other way around, and plonk them in there because they're in such a prominent position. I just feel it's a flash in the pan. It's a once only, that maybe just one person could have been responsible for everything. And, it might be just his oeuvre.
Two people. Two people,
you reckon?
Yeah, two
maybe.
people.
And there may have been practice pieces. There may have been student pieces,
look, this is what Johnny did when he was 8 years old, and he went on to do these. Maybe it's that.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say, Rupert, is that we don't know that these were done at Lepenski Vir.
No, we don't. We absolutely don't.
There's no way of saying that these weren't imported with the people that settled at Lepenski Vir, because that's the archaeology tends to tell us that this community arrived at Lepenski Vir fully formed. So maybe these sculptures even came from elsewhere. And on that Find another word. I think we've said enough for the time being. Thank you for watching, folks. If you're still with us, and if you are, please, and you like this kind of stuff, please take a look at the rest of the stuff we got in YouTube, surely. But also, we've got a massive archive of stuff over on Patreon. We've got 5 years of stuff. That means 200 of what we're now calling the Prehistory podcast, which we've been doing pretty much every week for the last 5 years or something ridiculous like that. So they're now available, some in preview form if you're not a member of Patreon, but some are available to non-Patreons. But think of that, folks. If you join up on go over there, join on Patreon today, and you've got 200 hours of us whittering just like this.
Yes, indeed.
The
people.
Joy rupture. Your cup runneth over. And loads more besides, and all this stuff ad-free as well. So,
and if you want to contribute to our ongoing filmmaking projects, then don't forget to have a look at our Buy Me a Coffee campaign as well, which is specifically money going towards our filming of the Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge project.
That's right. That's our other strand, going places and making films. I mean, Lepenski Vir, we wouldn't have gone to Lepenski Vir if it had not been for the Göbekli Tepe to Stonehenge project and people helping us out via Buy Me a Coffee. So thank you to you folks. Our next adventure is going to be in Italy, up Monte Viso. So, if you want to see us up a mountain, buy us a coffee.
Yes.
Or more.
Yeah.
All
good
right.
stuff. Thanks for
We've
watching.
done that bit. I think it's time to say bye-bye. Bye-bye from me.
See you next time, folks. See ya. Bye.
Bye. Are you any the wiser?
Me? I'm constantly thinking it must be me.
On that, yeah. We'll definitely finish on that.